Hi, everybody. This is Samara Michelle. I hope you guys are doing well. I'm so excited to be on. Hi, Sabrina. Hey, girl. Hey. I'm so excited to be on today. I'm going to be talking about nonprofit versus for profit. It's one of my favorite topics. And I'm really excited today because of all this money that is flowing everywhere. There is lots and lots of grant money that is floating around, you see, because of COVID 19 and also because of the Black Lives Matter movement. And so, since we have that money flowing around, I wanted to talk to you guys about being a nonprofit organization or being a for profit organization. I've been doing this for a lot of years, and this is the first time where I've seen a lot of money flowing for with grants for profit organizations. Typically, grants are um, granted to nonprofit organizations. So I just wanted to hop on. I wanted to give you guys some facts and some information. Wanted to dispel a few myths about being a nonprofit and give you a few facts about starting both a for profit and a nonprofit. So, there are some very key differences. The main difference between nonprofit and for profit is the purpose of the business. So, a nonprofit organization is always going to be mission driven, it's always going to have a community purpose. So, nonprofit organizations you're going to see are going to be dance programs, arts programs, after school programs, education, things that are health and wellness in the medical field, lots of social services. So, things like HIV and AIDS prevention, homeless shelters, all of those organizations are often nonprofit. There are some organizations that are even food service that are wellness based, so they would be considered a nonprofit organization. But lots of things dealing with kids can be nonprofit. Education is a big arena in that, and then there's also churches are nonprofit entities, hospitals are nonprofit entities. So anything with a community based a mission, things that are going to take care of the community, those are going to be things that are nonprofit. And then for profit are the rest of the businesses. They are their primary purpose is to provide services and goods, and it their primary goal is to make money. And sometimes people kind of look at for-profit businesses, like nonprofit is the good and for-profit is the bad, and that's not necessarily true. There's nothing wrong with making money, and that's where one of the myths come in, because people feel like if they own a nonprofit or if they are part of a nonprofit, that it is all of a sudden going to be not a viable business, that everything is free. And although many nonprofits give free services, that doesn't mean that everything is free. Nonprofits are able to charge for their services just like regular businesses. You should think of a nonprofit in the same way as a regular business. And when I coach my clients, I tell them to run their nonprofit like a for profit business, because you need to make money. You need to make sure that you're making money. But nonprofits have the opportunity to fundraise. And that is another thing that sets the two apart. So you can get donations and things like that for a nonprofit organization, and they are tax exempt for the person that is giving. And I know I hopped right in because I wanted to make sure I didn't take up too much of you guys' time, but I do want to say, I have a really good friend that's a lawyer, and she makes sure that I keep everything on the legal track. So I want to make sure that you guys understand that I am not a lawyer, and I am not an accountant. So any advice that I give you is a business advice, and you have to do your due diligence and look everything up and make sure that you're making the right decisions for your situation. I'm not going to tell you anything that's not true, but everything is not for everybody. So make sure that you're pulling the information from me as a resource, and then you are doing your due diligence, and then making sure that you are making decisions that are right for you. But back to what I was saying, so nonprofit organizations can fundraise and they can get money. And so any of their donors or any of their sponsors can get a tax deduction for giving to that organization because it's a nonprofit organization. So sometimes you hear about for profit organizations having sponsors as well. And um, you definitely can get sponsored as a for-profit organization. People do it for marketing purposes all the time. Companies will donate to a smaller company or to a different type of company. Sporting events is one of them. A sporting event is a for-profit business, but they have sponsors. They have, Coca-Cola may sponsor or Gatorade sponsors because it's good for their business and it's good for their brand. So those are although you are a for-profit business, it doesn't mean that you can't get sponsors and it doesn't mean that you can't get money to flow into your business. It's just a different model. um, but a nonprofit ensures that all of its revenue and all of its profit goes to the mission. It goes to the organization. And a for-profit, they can earn profits and then get healthy bonuses for their owners and shareholders at the end. Nonprofits cannot do that, and that's why there is a myth that nonprofits can't make money. You can make money, you just have to use it for the purpose that the nonprofit was built. So I will give you an example as an owner of how you can build revenue and build money for yourself. So if your nonprofit is, I'm gonna give real easy numbers just for the purpose of easy numbers. Let's just say that you have a budget of $50,000 and you brought in $50,000 this year and you paid out all of your expenses and everything, and your salary was $25,000, right? Well, next year you guys ramp up and you get lots of sponsors and you do a lot more programming, and now your budget is at $100,000, and you know that now you can pay yourself more money. You can get a raise. So you, instead of $25,000 this year, you might make $30,000 or $50,000. It just needs to be comparable to make sure that the organization can run. So you can't raise $100,000 and the owner gets $90,000 and the rest of the money goes to the program. It should be proportionate to what should happen in a normal business. But owners of nonprofits, um, well, directors of nonprofits, founders of nonprofits, because they're technically community owned. You are able to get a salary, so you would be able to get a raise. So that means that you can make money doing the nonprofit organization. So a lot of people don't know that. They think that it has to just be their blood, sweat, and tears, and that they don't have to get money. They can't get money out of it, and you can. So I wanted to dispel that myth. So the tax exemption for nonprofits. So a nonprofit does not pay federal income taxes. A nonprofit is designated by the IRS to be a nonprofit. So you can go to the Georgia State Corporation website right now and you can start a nonprofit organization. And they will be looking for tax money from you unless you get the IRS 501c3 designation. So you have to go to the IRS and get the designation for your existing nonprofit corporation in order to be a nonprofit corporation to be tax exempt. That also gives you the designation for people's donations to be tax exempt as well. Um, another caveat for a nonprofit owner is that you don't have to pay into unemployment taxes, so it's a little easier to have um, a staff member. But if you do have to pay unemployment for the staff member, like you let them go or and you owe unemployment for them, you have to pay it on the back end. Corporations, they're just subject to income tax, period. You get taxed. That's it. Now there are tax deductions that you can take, especially as a sole proprietor. You can take tax deductions on your normal 1040, and you can look into that. And sometimes it's beneficial to do that because you're spending money on that business. So you have to make sure that you do that. Then nonprofit versus for profit, also the way that you staff, because you have a community because you have a community goal, you can often get volunteers and people that will work hard for you, either at no cost or at a low cost because they believe in the mission. So it is a very normal for there to be lots and lots of volunteers in a nonprofit organization, and it's very helpful to the organization and it's helpful to the volunteers if you do it right. So that's a good thing. And then of course, staff for a for-profit organization should be W-2 employees, and for-profit organizations also contract people as well. So those are some of the key differences between being a for-profit and a nonprofit organization. I don't say that you should be either. I just, as a coach, if you are running a business that has a community need, I think that it's very advantageous for you to be a nonprofit organization. If you are somebody that's already giving and doing things, you're an artist, you're a dancer, and you are producing work, most of those things can be, a nonprofit can help you because there are lots of discounts that happen because you're a nonprofit. There's a lot. I'm gonna give you a couple of examples. So Google has you can get G Suite for free if you're a nonprofit. There is a program called there's a website called TechSoup.org, and they give you discounts on computer software and computer equipment that that's really helpful. And of course, the grants that you can get as a for profit, I mean, as a nonprofit, that is beneficial. So it is beneficial to be a nonprofit with the tax exemption and all of those things if you have an organization that is that purpose. I do not suggest if you are running a for-profit business and you just want to get the tax exemption and you're trying to kind of finagle your business into having a community purpose, just have a for-profit organization and pay the taxes and do the deductions. Oftentimes the taxes aren't as much as you think they are when you're a small grassroots business. It's just worth it to just do it the right way and have the freedom to be able to run your for profit however you want. And when you get a big profit at the end of the year, you can cut the owners a check and shareholders a check, and nobody's doing any checks and balances on that. So if you want to make sure that you have a legitimate for-profit business, the very first step is for you to get incorporated. Getting incorporated is pretty simple. You can go to your state's corporation division. Typically, it's on the state's website, and you can apply to be either a corporation or LLC. I have done a video about LLC versus in the different type of corporations, so you guys can look that up in the Small Business Strategy group on Facebook. But I just wanted to give you guys that information. We also have a 501c3 workshop coming up. You can go to samaramichelle.com and get information on how to enroll. I do have a special going on if you use the promo code Action 2020. That's Action 2020 with no spaces. You can register for any of my workshops at a discount rate until the end of the weekend. But I'm talking about nonprofit. So nonprofit is the 501c3 workshop is coming up. I also have a grant boot camp coming up, and I have a 30-day launch boot camp coming up. So you guys can take part in that. We have deep discounts until the end of the weekend. So Action 2020, and just make sure that you are setting up your organization the way that you need to. You need to have these things in place because right now all this money is flowing and it won't stop flowing for a while. We've been in this situation before. The last recession brought on lots of programs and lots of money and lots of opportunity for small business and women-owned businesses, and now Black-owned businesses are in the mix. So you are able to kind of garner some money. So even if you're starting your organization today, even if you're getting your LLC today or your nonprofit corporation and then your 501c3, it's going to be helpful to you. So I encourage you to go ahead and do it. Typically, the fee for an incorporation, either one is $100 or less in all the states. I haven't seen any states that are higher. And and then the 501c3 application is now streamlined. So it's $250 IRS fee for the application. And when we do it in the workshop, we get it done on that night. We get your incorporation done on that night, and we take care of you. So if you have questions, feel free to drop them under the video. Even if you're on the replay, you can drop your questions. I'm still notified. I still want answer. You can reach me at samaramichelle.com,